Hey shoe selectors and running enthusiasts, it's Ed 3-pointer Bud here. I am back once again like the renegade masters before me with a long run shoe test in the QE2 of carbon plate models, the REEBOK FLOATRIDE ENERGY X. Thanks for tuning in, cats. It's always appreciated. If you've yet to do so, hit that subscribe button and click the bell below for notifications of when we launch those new videos for you. It really helps us out too if you give us a super thanks down below and a thumbs up like. Danke schön. 12 miles today in the QE2 of running shoes, the REEBOK FLOATRIDE ENERGY X. It really does feel like a nice sea cruise. 19.3 kilometers. I've got to say, these really work well for a nice cruising speed. A master perhaps of the longer, slower run. Mainly easy cruising speeds today of 7 minutes 55 per mile, coming in at around about 1 hour 35 minutes for the 12 miles. I did throw in some faster paced sections later on in the run, a few reps around 200 meters at my 10k pace. So it's about 6 minutes 25 seconds per mile. 1 minute recoveries because I did have a gig the night before and I was feeling a little bit lethargic. Around 344 feet of elevation today on the typical old long run route. Heading out across town out of Yeovil to the west towards Montacute and then back on the reverse. Not too much sunshine out there. It was typical sort of summer weather here in the UK. Slightly overcast, bit humid, next to no wind to contend with. 12 degrees centigrade out there. So how did the cruisers hold up? Upperwise, I did go with a slightly thicker sock, but I could have quite easily used something a little thinner today. It was that type of day out there, quite warm really for the UK, even early morning. The slightly thicker sock I had on was sort of slipping around at the front of the shoe, and it wasn't kind of gripping to the insole at all. It was sliding around, so that's not really the shoe's fault, just to let you know how I was feeling. Lacing in the Energy X is on point and it pulls in the upper materials around your foot, creating a really nice lockdown. I did utilise a runner's knot today and I didn't get any sort of lacing inconsistency. It didn't change over time. The fit was just really nice and consistent all the way through. Sadly, I did get a little bit of tongue slide on today's longer run. Just slides over to the lateral side. I do have a bit of a theory about that. The insole in these is quite pronounced on the arch and I think that that's kind of pushing that gusseted section of the tongue up and across as you start running, and it starts to bunch up on this lateral side. So I might experiment with cutting out some of the insole. It really is quite pronounced in that arch area, so I think that's the problem. Can't say it affected the comfort in any way though at all in today's long run in the Energy X. There was no lace pressure on top of the foot and zero rubbing really in the toe box area, even though the upper feels a little bit more coarse. The feet feel and look as you would expect from a guy that runs about 40 miles a week. The toe box reinforcement does enough to lift the material away from the toes and it flexes well. Though the upper and internal booty construction here in the Energy X do make it one of the warmer shoes that I've tested out of recent time. It's just quite a lot of material there. It does make you wonder what the shoe would be like if they minimise that down a little bit. In my opinion, the shoe would really benefit from having a more elastic gusset around the sort of arch area and that sort of side of the foot. I think that would improve the fit quite a lot and actually benefit in terms of reducing the amount of material in the shoe, so just bringing the weight down somewhat. It would just dial in the comfort a little bit more and improve the shoe overall, so I might have a go at that myself in the near future. Let's talk midsole now. Midsole wise, at about 42 miles, the shoe is starting to give a little bit more and I'm finding it far more flexible, though still rigid enough to get some good pace out of it. The FloatRide foam and the rigid forefoot plate work really well for me at that cruising speed, though as proven later in the run you can turn the pace up and go through the gears and it will respond, though the weight and mass of the shoe might mean that some people will find it simply too heavy to utilise as a racer. Around 300 grams here and it's just going to be too much for some people. I've only experienced a little bit of midsole damage in the Energy X so far. Though it is on the outsole of the shoe, it has still affected the actual midsole material. Just a rock got embedded in there. More on that in a moment. One area that really works well in this shoe, certainly in the midsole, is this carved out section. It's in just the right place to present a bit of squash in that heel area. It expands outwards and widthways, almost a bit like a piston, I suppose. A very stable shoe here with a little bit of toe off from that forefoot plate. Feels engaging as you hit on the midfoot, and it just kept me rolling all the way through the miles, despite a very, very late gig finish. One of those where you just sort of will yourself to get out there and then actually find that it's a little bit easier than you thought. I think the combo of foams here isn't the most technical, and I think the shoe's a little bit overlooked with FloatRide Plus P-back section here in the midsole. There's nothing to suggest it's there. A TPU and TPE magic formula. Last up, looking at the outsole. Now, a few people mentioned that there was some early wear in their pairs of the Energy X. I did find that, but it's really settled down over the recent miles, and I haven't really had any extra additional wear since then. It's a little bit of wear in the forefoot here, perhaps in the toe-off area, and a very slight bit of wear back here in the heel. Those are typical areas that I'd expect to see a little bit of wear on the outsole, so nothing too alarming right now. Those small rubber nodules are still protruding in the forefoot area. Superb grip today from the Energy X on those dry roads and paths. One other area that's not been a problem with debris is this sort of hollowed out section here. In some other models I've noticed that debris and stones and all sorts get caught up, but there's nothing really for it to hang on to here. I think Reebok have done a really good job. If you're going on a long run, the last thing you want to worry about is having to prise out stones and bits and pieces, and just doesn't seem to happen at all. In fact, no debris has got caught up in the shoe. I haven't brushed it or anything, so it's just how it is after 12 miles. Yeah, the Carbon X2, the Fuel Cell SC Pacer, all those picked up loads and loads of rubbish just on some short runs, so I think that says it all. As I mentioned on a previous run, I did get a rock that punctured straight through and actually hit the plate, but it was a bit of a 1 in a million shot to hit the exhaust port. Hasn't really had an effect on the performance or anything like that of the shoe. I think these running shoes can't be babied. They're supposed to be used on your feet, and they're going to get damaged, they're going to get worn out. Just got to use them and enjoy them while they're here. Can't comment too much about the use of the shoe in the wet. It's been very, very dry of recent time. In fact, I can't remember the last time that it's been raining for any considerable duration. So a shoe not perhaps without its flaws, but there's certainly some potential here in the Energy X. I really do hope we get a second edition a little way down the line, which can perhaps tweak the shoe a little bit to relieve some of the issues I have experienced thus far. But gotta be honest, on the long run it was absolute magic. 12 miles and the legs felt fantastic afterwards. Next day I've got absolutely no aches or pains, nothing at all, so the Energy X really worked out well this time around. A capable cruiser and a really good price as well. Let's not forget that this one retails at 130 big ones here in the UK. Have you picked this shoe up, guys, and tested it out on a long run? What were your findings? Let the runners know down in the comments. A musical interlude for you. Today from the band of the Royal Air Force College Cranwell. We have 633 Squadron, fantastic stirring sounds. Favourites here have always been the Dam Busters March and the title track 633 Squadron. My son actually really enjoys listening to these while he's eating his mango and cheese with some crackers, you know, because that's what you do when you're 2. Quality on these recordings is really on point as well, if you can find these exact versions. Really nice and airy, really nice broad sound. It's like you're sat there bang in the middle of the orchestra. Well, actually that would be a bit uncomfortable probably. It would probably be loud and you don't want to be there. You want to be sort of further back and in the audience perhaps. Listening to this always reminds me as well of some of the fantastic scores from John Williams. The Indiana Jones theme would have fitted in really well with this album. It's that same type of style, some wonderful build-ups there. It's not just all loud and kind of over the top. There's some really beautiful melodies here. I think I picked this one up back in 2005, but absolutely fantastic if you can track it down. The 633 Squadron from the band of the Royal Air Force College Cranwell. Thanks for tuning in, people. Remember to help support the channel by picking up some merch and also giving us a super thanks down below. Hit that subscribe button and click the bell below for notifications. Also give this video a thumbs up, like, and share it with your running buddies. My name's EDDBUD, and I'll be seeing you